Hi there! VideoGaming Father here with a video review of a puzzle turn-based tactical game called Star Vikings Forever. You can find here any humorous story explaining what Vikings do in space and how they get into trouble. Are there funny and distinctive main characters in the game? Do you need to have the brain of genial strategists to resolve the battle situations, or is it rather meant to be played by casual players? Are there more possible solutions to each battle, or puzzle if you wish, or do you need to find the only one that leads to success? Are there any RPG elements and innovative ideas enhancing the gameplay? Will you find there a lot of interesting enemies that you will be fighting against? Does the game have likable audio visuals, or are they something that one would better forget about? Just stay with me for the next few minutes, and I can promise that these questions will not remain unanswered. Let's start with the story, as it should be crazy enough to explain how the Vikings have appeared in space. Actually, it's not explained at all. We are just told that the Vikings were just traveling through the space with their spaceships in the form of Drakkar when a mysterious alien artifact floated in direct collision course with their ship. The totally incompetent captain didn't pay any attention to the warnings of the ship computer and kept singing his favorite song instead. So the crash with the artifact became inevitable. The captain was not just upset by the fact that they just crashed for too long and found the alien artifact in the form of snail a perfect table wedge. However, the so-called table wedge is actually the holy idol worshipped by alien race of snails that do not want to give up on it, which leads to the war between the Vikings and snails. The story, which is presented in the comics form between the missions from time to time, is not something special, but it's funny most of the time and still better than nothing. If only there was some funny dubbing for the main characters that would emphasize the humorous atmosphere of the game. But let's leave the story for now and let's get to the gameplay. The first few levels serve as a classic tutorial where the basic game mechanics are explained. We have just one Viking, yes, the incompetent ship captain, so eager to fight with someone, who stays in the row split into tiles and need to get from one end of the row to another. But there are of course some obstacles in the way that needs to get rid of first. So, you test your skills. The direct attack that hits the enemy staying in front of you, and special skill, the mortar that does indirect attack and can hit the enemy or object in any row on the screen. So you eliminate the first few harmless snails by your indirect attack and use the mortar to open the gates by hitting the switches behind them to get to the first serious enemy, a mutant snail that attacks the space in front of it when hit. The good thing is that it's really a dumb creature, so it doesn't make a difference in who it attacks. That makes it a useful weapon against the other enemies. The next part of the tutorial is focused on the next member of your group, Tank Viking. He also has a direct attack and the special ability to push objects up or down. It serves to move the obstacles out of his way or the way of his companions. For example, the gate with the switch behind the Captain Viking had to resolve by hitting the switch with his mortar is resolved by Tank Viking by simply pushing the obstacle to the free space in the top or bottom row. Tada! Your way to the exit is free. It's also the way to get rid of strong enemies without being hurt by them. And how does the game continue then? Do you just proceed through the levels using your primary attack and special ability without any limits? Nah, there are of course some limits. Soon the Tank Viking will join his captain and they will need to cooperate to combine their skills to get further. Each Viking is defined by the number of lives shown as the symbol of heart and number of energy points shown as the symbol of lightning. Once the Viking is out of his lives, he dies and you need to restart the level. Each use of special ability will consume one energy point, so once the Viking is out of energy points, he cannot use his special ability anymore. The last statistics that each Viking has is the damage caused by his attack. This, along with the number of enemies' hit points, determines how many attacks your character needs to eliminate the enemy. And I have mentioned yet that each Viking can only move forward in his row, but can use his special ability to also affect the other rows of course. By the game description, you can have up to 6 Vikings in your roster, but after 12 levels and about 1.5 hours of playing, I was able to recruit just one more Viking, Pierre, who can activate any wooden trap on the field as his special ability. So the progress of unlocking new characters is rather slow, I would say. Each level consists of several screens and energy points are filled up automatically to the maximum in each new screen, while the life points are not. But in some screens you can find the boxes that provide you with useful vials when being hit. They might be filled with health or energy potions that restore either your energy or life points. You can also find vials that increase the damage of your next attack or ranged spell that makes target more strategic. In each screen there are up to 5 rows filled by enemies, traps and boxes, and you need to plan your moves wisely to get to the end of level and not run out of your lives. So in most of the cases you just need to find the right order of using your Viking special ability and hit the right enemies to cause a big chain reaction as possible to hit as many enemies as possible by each attack. It really reminds me of solving puzzle where you need to create the longest chain possible, like in the games based on match 3 principle. Will I hit first the snail doing the frontal attack or the snail that attacks all surrounding tiles? Shall I use special attack to hit the enemy or rather to open the box that might contain useful power up, but risk that there will be no special attack remaining for the enemies then? The game is full of decisions like this, and the good thing is that there are more solutions for each screen, which makes the game variable and more entertaining. And also easy, but we will get to this a little bit later. What kind of enemies will your Vikings be fighting against? There is a basic mutant snail with 2 hit points causing the damage of one that attacks the tile in front of it every time when being attacked. Armored version of it has 3 hit points. Then there is a Vulcan snail with 3 hit points causing the damage of one who attacks all adjacent tiles when hit. Putrid snail is angry and thus attacks all Vikings on adjacent tiles. Wooden trap fires a projectile when hit and is destroyed. This projectile has a long range though. It can hit anything in front of it within its row or column regardless how far it is. And that's all I have seen so far, if do not count the harmless training creatures and items. One could say that this is not much, but there are also special pirate versions of each snail that are stronger and have more hit points. And I'm sure there will be other types of enemies yet as you progress through the game. The good thing is that the puzzles are procedurally generated, so the creature's arrangement is different every time you start the level, which provides new situations to solve and also some replayability. Besides enemies, there are boxes that I have already mentioned and also vases with gold. What can this gold be used for? The gold can be used to buy new items, learn new skills, or recruit new Vikings. I have already mentioned some items, but there are more. For example, the helmet that protects Viking from the next attack, switcher that can swap 2 non-Vikings objects on the field, or Orbiter Striker that deals 2 damage attack to the target object. In general, there are many items modifying the gameplay, and I have not mentioned yet the special levels that generate some modifier in your backpack after a determined number of steps. You can also buy more slots to your backpack, as the original 3 slots will soon not be enough. And you can also buy slots to your ship to have a space for more Vikings to your party. For each killed creature or combo or more killed creatures, your Vikings also get experience points that can be used for their upgrades. You can upgrade all 3 characteristics for each Viking. Increase the health points, energy points, or damage caused by one hit. There are also passive skills related to them. For example, Blast that gives Captain 20% chance that killed enemy will explode and cause the damage to all enemies around him. Or Ricochet that replies his mortar, which deals damage not just to the target object, but also to object adjacent to it. Tank Viking can, for example, get 20% chance to ignore the damage taken, or Land Strike that not just pushes the object, but also deals him a damage. The skill tree is not something that would surprise you by tons of options, but can modify the gameplay enough to make the game keep your attention for a longer time. so RPG elements are sufficient and for sure enhances the gameplay. How about the game difficulty and controls? Star Vikings Forever is not an especially difficult game. Thanks to the skill upgrades and power-ups, you will not get frustrated even by levels with many tough enemies on the battleground. The game almost always serves you enough possible solutions and saving power-ups so you can resolve each situation without long thinking and death of your Vikings. It is originally a mobile game and it's being felt when it comes to the difficulty. So it's said to be played by casual players and thus suitable for family play. But don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that you will not have to use your brain cells at all. It's just that you will have not to do it for tens of minutes to resolve one level. As for game controls, here you can also feel that the game is a port from mobile because you need to drag your Viking and slide him across the tiles to target one. Which is reasonable on the cell phone, but feels rather clunky on the big PC. It would be much better to simply select the Viking by clicking on him and send him to the desired field by simply clicking on him. Otherwise, the controls are easy and intuitive and you just need your mouse to control the game. The game audio visuals are something that your eyes and ears will rather be pleased than disgust, I would say. The graphics and cartoon style are cute and colorful in high definition. You cannot expect any fancy effects here, but it's nice to look and not demanding on one's computer hardware. The music changes the great tracks will average ones, but the rock main theme or mix of modern tones with traditional pirate music are surprisingly good, so the music definitely belongs to the better parts of the game. Sounds of shooting, smashing, breaking, or snails biting, and most of the other ones are good and fun. I was only missing some funny dubbing for your Vikings and other NPC characters, as it would for sure improve the humorous atmosphere of the game. Let's sum it up now. Is Star Vikings Forever just a cheap mobile port, or does it have enough qualities to offer a worthwhile experience even on computers? There are many pros: humorous story, funny and distinctive game characters, more possible solutions for each puzzle, replayability thanks to procedurally generated levels, variety of skills, upgrades and power-ups, difficulty suitable for casual players, beautiful graphics, nice to hear music and sounds. However, one can also find some cons. Slow progress of unlocking new characters, a little bit clunky controls suitable rather for cell phones than PCs, absence of dubbing, and creeping stereotype resulting from simplicity of the game concept. Star Vikings Forever is definitely a family-friendly game thanks to short levels, casual difficulty, and omnipresent humor. The game costs €8 on Steam, and I would recommend waiting for some discount this time, as it's not so cheap for casual game. If you are looking for an easy-to-learn puzzle game that can be funny even when played in short seances, and is surprisingly complex in its core, you are on the right address. Star Vikings Forever is an ideal game for casual family playing, and I have enjoyed it despite its flaws and the fact that it will probably not last for too long, and thus I am giving it thumbs up and VideoGaming Father's index 7 out of 10. Recommended with some discount. Thank you for spending your time by watching my Star Vikings Forever video review. If you enjoyed it, please do not forget about giving it a thumb up and subscribing to my VideoGaming Father's channel. Hope to see you soon!